few years back, I went to Disney with my friends for the first time. We spent the whole day going on crazy rides, taking pictures in dreamy backdrops, sharing snacks, and laughing at weird passersby. Just having fun. When night fell, we all bunched up in front of the castle for the fireworks, and the main street was flooded with the luscious smell of the cotton candy, the glittering symphonies, and there were flamboyant light sticks and costumes worn by children and adults alike. To this day, I can barely trace back the details of my day, but it is for sure that I will never forget the way I felt when I saw the brilliant fireworks set off in the dark to light up the night sky. I thought that my life couldn't get any better, and I had naively wished for the clock on that pink castle to stop ticking so that the moments would never end. I thought I'd found my happiness, and I hoped that happiness could last forever. Happiness might mean something else for you. It could be something as small as waking up with no alarms to something as big as finishing a group project that spanned a term. In fact, even today, nobody really has the concrete definition for the word happy. It simply means positive emotional or mental states. And depending on context, it could mean anything from amusement to gratitude to pleasure to pride to serenity. However, I've slowly come to realize that it's simply impossible to expect yourself to be happy all the time. We, as humans, cannot be always living in happiness, although that doesn't stop us from trying for it. First and foremost, I think it's really important that we establish a difference between pleasure and happiness. Pleasure is a short-term satisfaction. Happiness is a longer-term fulfillment. Pleasure is a one-off gratification, while happiness is a state of contentment. It requires hard work to get to. And most importantly, pleasure can be quantified with material like cars, designer outfits, and money. Meanwhile, happiness is simply a feeling that comes from within. On too many occasions, we have mistaken pleasure as happiness when the two of them don't bring the same values to our lives. For example, gold rushers from 1848 lost their jobs, traded their properties, and traveled to California just to bet the slim chance of them finding gold to make them millionaires. Were they happy? Alcoholics spend day and night indulging in alcohol just to hang on to the promised land within their heads. When the hangover comes, are they happy? Now let's look on the other side. Russian mathematician Grigory Perelman, who was the first to solve any of the 7 millennium problems, declined the prize money when 1 million USD was offered to him. Was he in for the material success? Then we have authors like J.K. Rowling, Dr. Seuss, and Jack London who have lived their early lives with a lot less than we have. Yet here they are. They are the literati who have approached life with the most humble, appreciative, and imaginative hearts. Now, I'm not telling you to start living like an ascetic and shun all your pleasures, because we all need some of those to keep us going. Even psychologist Abraham Maslow has stated in his famous hierarchy of needs that biological and mental pleasures form the basis of self-actualization. However, things start to get interesting as the line between pleasure and happiness starts to blur. As I was writing this speech, I looked up the price of my Disney ticket. It cost me $640. Possibly more if you also counted in the food and souvenirs and everything. So, you can say that my Disney pleasure can be quantified at around $640. Fair. However, like many of you would recall, what's truly memorable about Disney is not the pennies counted towards a ticket. It's the fun, the time spent with friends, the day that passed by without any negative thoughts, genuinely free from all your worries. Now, those things I've just said don't require any material wealth to obtain, but nonetheless, hundreds and thousands of people are still willing to pay for the Disney tickets. Why? Because, put simply, happiness can often just be an extension of your pleasures. Buying a house, for example, costs heaps of money, but having a home, a family, will give you an anchor to navigate through life. Traveling across the world will mean that you can take weeks off work, but in the process, you are also repaid with wisdoms of culture and humanity that very, very few get to experience. Throwing a birthday party with friends requires a lot of time planning and contacting different people. But in 5 years' time, you will look back to find the collective memories priceless and irreplaceable. Now, you might ask, well then, aren't pleasure and happiness basically the same thing? And this is the part where most of us go wrong, myself included. The fact that we had to pay for these pleasures gives us an illusion that we were able to attach value to our emotional happiness. So then, with the value comes the idea that we feel obliged to compare with other people and outdo them, as if we can out happy each other. You see how ridiculous this sounds? Our attempts to retain happiness with material wealth will not only exhaust our energy, but also the zeros on our bank account. Well, but although having heaps of money, traveling across the world, and throwing parties may offer us some form of gratification, but in the end, in 5, 10, 15 years, they are not really the things that stick in here and here. What you really will remember will always be the look, the conversations, and the laughs that you share with the people around you. This I can promise you. So then, I would argue in order to be truly happy, and I mean content, at peace with our lives, certainly we need something else. Perhaps something that, like a magic function, that we can click to make our lives come together and suddenly everything's okay. Something that cannot be quantified and makes us generate a positive feeling from within, right? Unfortunately, or fortunately, there is no quick fix to happiness. I say that we are unfortunate because this means that we will inevitably be sad. We've all had bad days, bad weeks, or times where we felt like we just can't see the light coming. But I also say that we are fortunate because this long and sometimes painful journey to happiness means that we can savor every emotion on the spectrum. Without the lows, there are no highs. Without the pain, there is no comfort. And without sadness and everything else, we will never be able to realize and appreciate happiness. We can't receive happiness like money on wire transfers, so as a result, I've realized that trying to become happy is essentially a journey inwards of self-acceptance, of power, of love. Note that those things I've said are not inherently happy. Coming to terms with your flaws is difficult. Trying to gain the power to be in control of your lives more often means suffering than happiness. And loving someone could turn out to be the most painful thing on earth. But matter of fact is, we still manage to make something memorable out of them. Perhaps that could be your happiness. Who knows? But wait, I've rambled on for so long about what isn't happiness, yet we still don't know exactly what is. But truth is, like I've said in the beginning, we can't define happiness because it's unique to everyone, which means that each and every one of you will have your own takes on happiness, and there would be no point for me to try and persuade you what it is, because simply none of that would be applicable to your lives. The one tip I would hope you all take away, however, would be to recognize the things in you that make you truly happy instead of resorting to external stimuli that churn out pleasure disguised as happiness. This journey inwards has no end. It was never about the end. It's about the experiences that are on the way because they are what make us human, and only human. I wish you all well on your own journeys towards inner happiness. Thank you.